Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Moons and Mythos. This is episode number 9 with myself, your host, David Farrell, and my co-host, astrologer and mythologist, Kelly Hunter. Hi, Kelly. How are you doing? Where are you?
I'm in the Virgin Islands. I love this turquoise water, and it's good to be here, I must say.
Right, for sure. The blue skies and the landscape, it feels like you're having a little time to get some clean air, some good vibes, and maybe even a little bit of space, which I think is really important right now to allow the creativity to flow. So hopefully you're having a nice time.
Yeah, I'm going into a freer space, which is a good thing. And I've been swimming a lot in this turquoise water, which is very healing.
Right, nice. And of course, water is super cleansing, and I know how much you're connected with water anyway, as indeed am I through my astrology. So hopefully that's ticking all of the boxes. And for sure, rest and recuperation, I feel, has been a part of the last few weeks, and certainly since the last show that we did. But this is a bit of a booyakasha moment, right? This solar eclipse and full moon eclipse in Scorpio has got all kinds of weird twists and turns going on. So where are we going to start with this? Let's unpack the first question, which I have. So is it an Aries solar eclipse, Aries new moon, or is it in Taurus? Because I'm super confused now. What the hell is going on, Kelly?
That is, the question, right? So we had a new moon a month ago at 1 degree of Aries. So this is kind of like a blue moon. Sometimes you have 2 full moons in a month. This is 2 new moons in Aries at the far edges, but it's so close to Taurus. The moon goes into Taurus minutes after the new moon, and the sun just a few hours later. So it's so cuspy. And like, how do we combine those two, the fire of Aries and the earth of Taurus? I don't know, are we planting a seed into the ground?
I would say so. That's what it feels like. The energy of the last month has been all about Aries, all about self, all about transformation. But then I feel like now with this cuspy going into Taurus, it's like, what are we going to do with that energy? Where are we going to put it? And, with the North Node in Taurus and everything that we've been talking about over the last year or so, and other astrologers too, I feel it's about new earth, Taurus, right?
Yes, very, very much. And that's so indicated on the full moon too, the full moon. So we got this total hybrid, strange, like eclipse going on. And then we have a full moon, kind of, I think it's a penumbral eclipse, which is not a dramatic lunar eclipse, but we'll have enough drama. We don't need to worry about that.
Right. And of course, it's going to be a full moon in Scorpio later this month, which for me is super strong, being so Scorpio, of course. And I feel that the illumination always on a full moon following a new moon is kind of whatever the prayers that were made, particularly in the last couple of years on the new moons, they come to manifestation super fast. And so this moment that we're in, this eclipse, this portal, this window with the energy of self, but also what do I do with that energy for the collective, working through Taurus and the earth, I feel is a super important moment to really send our prayers through the portals, through the portal, maybe even to pop out on the other portal on the other side, on the Scorpio full moon, as the full illumination, So I feel that this is a super exciting time. But of course, we do have a South Node in Scorpio also going on, so there's still a lot of flushing coming up, a lot of the old stuff, the corruption, the power, the misuse of all of those things, even the misuse of medicines, monies, all of these things. If we're paying any attention still at all to the Google box or the TV, then we may be aware that these things are all very much coming to manifestation right now. So, but let's bring up the chart for the new moon, because I feel like we want to get stuck into this. And I know what we're like. We often have a lot to chat about, and there's even more to chat about this month. So
we can't get much more intense than this moon cycle and this eclipse.
Right, it's that important.
Yes, that's important. And like you said, it's a portal. And, if we're really clear, and this is the last test, right, with the sun being in Aries, if we're really clear and centered, it can be an instant manifestation, but we've got to be there. We've got to be there. And it's hard to stay there moment to moment to moment, and this eclipse is so unusual. Some people will see a total eclipse. And one of those places is in the Ningaloo area of northwest Australia, where it is total. And then we have, some people will see a ring of fire. I love those. Ring of fire, you know, where the sun shows around the moon, the circle of the dark moon. And then we have, some people will see a partial. And that window is quite broad, both geographically and time-wise. So we have the new moon here, but you were looking up the time frame of the eclipse itself. So that straddles the moon. It extends this moon, with the new moon being right in the middle, sort of thing.
That's right. That's what I've understood. And again, apologies to anyone out there who has even more precise information, because it is a little confusing at the moment with the timelines. And of course, we've also had this strange experience here in Mexico, which I think is very interesting, where they got rid of daylight savings. So we now live in almost a time zone that wasn't there before, only since last November. And to be honest, it's felt like that. I mean, you know how many problems we've had with the time zones, and the many other people in our
I talk to are not even paying attention to it. They keep saying like it's PST, and it's not. It's not EST, you know, and let's get rid of this like weird, you know, daylight. It's all weird. And you know, speaking of that time thing, because you know, if we are in the moment, we can pick up any automatic dynamic that we're about to go into, and that means a switch in the timeline. We can really go frame by frame if we're paying attention. And to give that time of the eclipse that kind of attention would be fabulous. I mean, some people will be in dream world where it might be easier.
Right. So let's just touch on that for a second before we get into the details, because I think what you've alluded to there is very important for a number of reasons. First of all, the eclipse and the new moon do happen at different moments. The eclipse happens, or the beginning of the eclipse, as I understand it, happens first and goes on for about 5 to 6 hours, I think 5.5. And then the new moon actually kicks in from where I am on the planet 2 hours later. So I'm assuming this is the same for everybody. So we have this portal opening, and in 2 hours later, we have this window in the portal to put our prayers, which I think is really, really interesting. But we need to be super present, because if our mind is all jangled, and this is a time of instant manifestation, as many of us have been realizing very, very profoundly in different ways, if our mind's all jangled, we're going to make a bad or not helpful thought that we're going to put into a prayer. So this is a time to be super down the line. This guy is the hero of the moment. I've called him my hero many times. El Dandolero, the gunslinging pistolero, timeline wandering hero, is absolutely the guy, the archetype, the plant, the energy for this moment, because we need to be super, super present. And the more we are in this window, the more we realize that there is no boundary to the present moment. Days, nights, calendars, those are just kind of things that we're receiving and putting into our world, but they don't have to be there. And actually, if we let them go, as I've been doing for the last couple of weeks, it can be a little disorientating because you don't know what time it is, but actually it forces you to step into a different space. So we've been working here with the Mayan calendar and working each day according to the energies of the day, which has been much more productive because it keeps you very, very present in what's going on. What is the energy of today? How does it relate? What's going on for me right now? And I haven't, I think, had a thought much beyond the next hour over the last week or so, which I think is really interesting, but you have to create the space. If your mind is all fried with other stuff, it's going to be very difficult. So just wanted to bring that in because we both love Dandelion, of course, and he gets a lot of airtime from me, but there's a reason for it. So, all right, let's get into the astrology. Where would you like to start? Because there's a lot to talk about.
Well, you know, in evolutionary astrology, which I've studied some on and really appreciate, they start with the nodes of the moon. Let us do that. So we've still got the nodes, the south node in Scorpio, and it's kind of holding a little extra at 4 degrees. So the Scorpio south node and the Taurus north node. So we're still in the process of letting go. You know, it's like squeezing the sponge. And then the more we can do that, the more we can be experiencing and embodying the new earth energy. And we have the north node here. It's a north node eclipse. So wherever the eclipse is, like this is a north node eclipse. So, you know, and it's really almost, it's like right on the edge. It's part of Taurus. It really is right away. So even in that time frame when the eclipse is happening, I believe at least the moon goes into Taurus. So this is very unusual. I think it's hybrid in many ways, that, that some people see totality or partial or the ring of fire, and that is it Aries, is it Taurus? So, and what does that mean in terms of our experience of the shift of energy? So yeah, it's happening pretty fast. And then we get the Pluto in Aquarius squaring the nodes. Pluto squaring the nodes when the south node is in Scorpio, one of the signs of Taurus. This is enough, this is enough, but it is very intense, and it's a tipping point, because Pluto's going retrograde on, I think it's May 1st. So yeah, pretty sure about that. So it's only here for the briefest moment. We just caught a whiff of the fresh air of Pluto in Aquarius before we go back. It's like we've been in an airplane and we've been taxiing down the runway, and just before the plane lifts up, it's like, wait a minute, something's wrong with the engine or something.
No. Let's say that somebody forgot to pack their suitcase, and we have to take a little bit of a touch back again, so they can put their suitcase on.
Oh, I forgot my child. Oh no, that's a bad one too. Right? Let's find a good reason.
Look, I love this analogy though, and I think it's important because Pluto for sure retros back into Capricorn on June the 11th, but of course it's very slow moving, so it's going to take a little while. But this brief window that we've had as Pluto entered Aquarius, and it's been very, very brief, has been utterly profound, I think, for many people. It has opened space for many things to happen, and it's really important that in this moment, whatever we have all learned, that frequency is held as an anchor to take through the eclipse season, because we're going to emerge on the other side of the eclipse into a very, very different space. For some of us, it's maybe not so different, but for many people, it is going to be very, very different. And I think that this is a time to hold your nerve, be really in your heart. That is the end of all of the, the processes. It's like how much in your heart, and how connected to your heart and thus your higher self are you through love. And I think that this is where, Pluto squaring the nodes gives us the maximum breadth to see ourselves and where are we. And of course, as you know, that this is a very personal transit for me, because I'm also going through my nodal reversal return. So it's not only Pluto squaring the nodes, it's squaring that for me too. So it's been quite an intense process, but also very, very insightful. And I'm now understanding the process at a personal level much better. It's a full recalibration, not just for me, but for, I think, humanity. Yes.
And it's a tipping point that it's on the eclipse right now, squaring the nodes, which it's going to be doing for quite a period of time here, as it's circling this eclipse point and squaring the nodes for, several more months. So this is a huge portal. And it's a change. It's a different level of consciousness. And, Pluto's where we claim our power or we give it away. And another way of saying that, are you in fear or are you in love?
Right. And I think that really is the bottom line and the top note. Which end of the spectrum are you on? Because if you're in a place of fear, this could be very, very uncomfortable. In the end, the antidote to that is love. If you're in a place of love, then you're in a place of trust. And again, this is our friend El Dandolero giving us these constant daily moment by moment reminders. Where are you right now? Are you in your heart or are you in a place of fear? Because that's probably going to largely decide how you experience this next little period up to June. And you were saying that Pluto retros on May the 1st, which is, of course, Beltane or Beltane, which is very much connected to the energy in the lands of Britain, to the hawthorn tree, the fairy queen, which is really our biggest heart medicine also, so this is a time for the heart medicines as we're approaching to stay in that beautiful space. So wow, it couldn't be more intense, right? Pluto squaring the nodes on a full hybrid eclipse with a hybrid new moon also that's partly Aries, partly Taurus. What am I? Where am I going? Who am I? What the hell is going on? I think this is the theme, right? And it's down to us to make the choice. It's not like something happening to us. It's something that we're in charge of on a personal level, and thus we are part of the collective if we're all doing that. So I think it's super strong.
I want to say one more thing about May 1st. The other thing happening that day, we're going right after the eclipse here, we're going into a Mercury retrograde in Taurus. And halfway through the Mercury retrograde, which is May 1st, the Mercury aligns with the sun. So that's a day where there's like, can be instant perception and one of those magician days. So like that, and that's when Pluto is stationary. Like you're really holding your hand over a flame and you're feeling the intensity. We'll all be doing that. And then we have Pluto squaring Haumea, like, whoa, is 0, 0. And Haumea is right on the cusp as well. She's right here with the South Node. She's at 0 or 1. She's going back into Libra. She's really playing with this eclipse as well. She's doing the other end with the Libra Scorpio end. And so she is moving back into Libra, also on the cusp. I mean, this is really immense because she's the one who's going to bring forth. She is the mother of the volcano goddess Pele, you know, from deep inside, you know, volcanoes bring out rich earth from the inner realms and make new land. And this is part of New Earth, I think. She's helping us rebirth that in a very potent way from a place of depth and passion and erotic, chaotic, manifestation, but also she will be going back into Libra and trying to, you know, working to balance things out again. And find the combination of the eclipse points, the nodes of the moon also going from Scorpio back into Aries and Libra. So we've got this very interesting dance going on with a lot of very potent factors that are cusp crossing. And
I mean, I'm sure this does happen at other points, but this one seems very, very complex. It seems to me that we're being almost unhitched from the time-space continuum that we've been in and to something new. But in order to do that, we have to have these wobbles, these hybrid eclipses, this backwards and forwards, because it is, you know, again, because of my own North Node transit at the moment, I've been paying a lot of attention to this and seeing like this strange dance that first Pluto squares the nodes in Taurus Scorpio axis, but then it also then goes retro for a bit, then it goes forwards, and then when the nodes shift, then it's going to be squaring the nodes, but they'll be in Aries and Libra. So it's like we've got all of this kind of finishing, starting, backwards, forwards. Did you get it yet? No, not quite. Maybe have another go. Oh, now it's getting, you know. And of course, Haumea in Scorpio is a great place for this rebirth of that, you know, that fertility energy, the balancing. All of those energies of death and rebirth, I think, are important. But so let me get this straight. So Haumea is going to retro out of Scorpio. Do you know when exactly?
Well, any day, because she's at 0 or 1. I think it's really any day.
Any day, right?
I think
so she's going to be retroing with Pluto for a while. And how long does Haumea retro for, Kelly, if I can ask?
She's back. I think she's at least back in Scorpio in October. So she's not retrograde for very long. I'm sorry, I don't have all the specific factoids.
No, I'm just trying to get a general time frame, because I feel like it's interesting that we've been given this window to do this kind of dreaming, and then Pluto's going to retro back into Capricorn. Haumea is also going to retro back into how am I making my mind's going
back into Libra.
Thank you.
And then so, back in October, and she's in. You know, once she goes back in, she's in. Pluto has another back dip next year, but it is they are really working together, and they're so, you know, meaningful together that you know it's like the death and rebirth is implicit in both of them. And actually when Haumea was discovered, there was one team who didn't announce it, and another team found it as well. And this was a Spanish team, and they proposed the name of a Spanish goddess of the underworld. So she has a bit of that tone in her.
Isn't that interesting? Again, on this, we're looking at Haumea, and we've got this kind of backwards, forwards, nothing's quite clear, could be this, could be this. And even Haumea has another side to her, which could be more Scorpionic, more Pluto, more underworld. All of it is really important right now, because maybe Haumea in this node moving into Scorpio is the energy of Haumea, but moving backwards, she's also bringing up the more Plutonian aspect of her, which is this underworld Spanish goddess, which all of which is important, because if we're striving for the high notes, we have to make sure that we've got the lower underworld experience balanced within us. Otherwise, things could unravel. And I think this is
Well,
both an
she's
individual and collective.
inviting us in that deep,
Mm,
for this renewal. And we need to let go and know when we drop,
right.
and renew ourselves like how Maya does. So yeah, this is a hugely tipping point time. And how Maya going back into Libra is also going to align in the last degree of Libra, where there was a Venus star last October, and also just the theme of Libra in terms of making choices. This is the last chance, she says.
What I'm understanding, Kelly, is that this piece with Homea then is the two choices. One is maybe the new Earth, and the other one maybe is the underworld option. And going back into Libra, it's giving us that choice. It's like there's always a choice. There's always a choice for everybody, and we all get to choose which way do we go right now. But you have to make a very, very clear choice. There's no middle ground. Well, let me just see how the things shake down for the next 2 or 3 years. It's now. And anyone who's not on that page, I feel perhaps is not quite following the process here. So that's super interesting that even this Homea aspect is again backwards and forwards, giving us those choice points, with Pluto giving us the maximum visuals on all of this, the maximum breadth of what we can understand.
Yeah. So yeah, this is very profound energy for sure. And you need to take into account where your Pluto is, where your own Pluto is in your chart is going to be tapped, because that's your basic Pluto experience. So that, I have Pluto right on my ascendant, so I always feel these changes.
Wow.
They can be very obvious, and so anyway, but also you need to keep very vigilant about when you're getting triggered that can interfere with your best choice.
That's very true. I mean, my Pluto is in Libra and is being opposed by all of the stuff at the moment that's been going through Aries. So it's been quite an interesting time too.
Yeah.
But I think that's the point of right now. Pluto is right in the thick of the action because he needs to be to show us everything that needs to be seen right now. Everything has to be revealed, because if we do want to go to New Earth, we have to see all the things that were holding us back in the old paradigm, of which there were many. And depending on your ability to look energetically or multidimensionally, you will see many stories now unfolding, coming to conclusions, many things collapsing, many energetic structures collapsing, many systems collapsing, many religions collapsing. Of course, there's been a lot in the news recently about the Dalai Lama. All of these power structures through which inversion energy was able to manifest in the world and thus able to come to us is now all being released. And now, I think, for the first time in human history, we are possibly looking at our own emancipation and freedom completely, all of us, for those that choose that, which is super exciting. But we have to make that choice. So what else do you want to pick out in the new moon? I see that you've marked Varuna there.
I want to make one more comment about Pluto position, because I want to tell people, like, say, born 48, 49, all through the 50s, that group has Haumea conjunct Pluto. So this is a very activating time for this generation, with Pluto and Leo, and Haumea also bringing up those fires of creative inspiration. So this generation is getting older, and that might be part of the choice point you were referring to before, New Earth or Underworld, so something like that. But anyway, we need to look at this is like it's called a T-square when there are 3 corners. So we have the Scorpio corner with Haumea north node, south node. We have Pluto and Aquarius in the apex here, and we have the eclipse and the north node in the Taurus cuspy area here. So that's a 3-sided square. That's an activation dynamic. Squares activate. Let's not say they're bad. Let's not be afraid. Let's take up the challenge to do something with this energy. And so a lot of the energy of the 3 corners end up trying to fill that 4th corner. So it's always good, in my book, if there's something there. And so one of the KBOs is at this fourth corner. It's a little later into Leo, but everything's going to be moving toward that except the nodes that have already, squared Varuna. But Varuna is one of the most ancient Vedic gods. And he's the basically Lord of the star fields. His mother was Aditi, the goddess of space. He inherited that rulership. He's called the all-seer. He uses all the stars in the sky to look through and see what's going on around the world. He is called the mighty just ruler and judge of gods and men. Very powerful energy. He also is called the gods of the seas or the waters. So he is the great and the good, full of blessings and all-encompassing and non-judgmental. He is this spaciousness. And it reminded me when I was reading about this and listening to a fabulous video by Vedic astrologer Vic Dakara on Varuna, that the spaciousness of Varuna reminded me of the spacious, Buddha mind of the high side of Lilith as well. And Lilith is generally in Leo, only the mean black moon is at about 11-12 Leo, and we are going to get one of our special black moon true and mean flashes at 12 Leo on the 28th of April. So that's
hold on a second, let me hear that again. So that black moon Lilith alignment day is at 12 degrees of Leo. Wow.
Yes. And that's the mean black moon. It's the mean average motion of the black moon forward through the zodiac, but she doesn't actually do that. She's the true black moon, is a belly dancer going back and forth. And here on this new moon eclipse, we see her at 0 Virgo. And on the lunar eclipse, she's going to be back in late Cancer.
Right. And what day is the alignment day, Kelly? Sorry, I missed that. My mind did jump to something else as you were telling me.
I know, we're getting getting a lot in here. April 27th, 8th, mostly the 8th, I think, 28th.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and that's a flash day. And I just love that kind of flash, being a moment, of say like this eclipse, because we're going to be in this eclipse zone. It's the whole moon cycle, but especially between the new and the full. We're in an eclipse sandwich. And
I feel like I'm in all kinds of sandwiches at the moment. Every day is a different one with a different filling, but that's really, really interesting. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. That goes also with the justice when Haumea goes back to Libra and balances the scales of justice. And there's Varuna wants in on this too. And so I think that is a beautiful image of like, I love it, the judge of gods and men. So this is a very high, very deep energy, the mighty just ruler in the sign of Leo, which also often is about leadership and rulership. So this is the sovereign self taking charge here. And also this is, again, kind of keeping track of yourself. Where are you at? Don't be too judgmental about anything going on.
Yes. I couldn't agree more. I think that's a really important point, to not judge anything, because if you're judging, that's still not 5D. You're still not in the non-dual awareness, because from a non-dual perspective, that everything is perfect. There is nothing to judge. It's all just part of a process. And as we break ourselves down and become aware of who we truly are as avatars rather than as human beings, we'll start to see that everything that we perceive to be us actually isn't really us. It's just an experience from which we're learning something. And the more that we use that in totality, the more our sense of self breaks down. So the sense or the need to judge anything becomes less important.
Yeah, it's like the Buddhist inquiry. What is this? What is this about that I'm experiencing here and now? And, the tendency to get triggered is also indicated by Mars being the very subjective sign of Cancer. Now, if we want to look a little further at this, it's at 13 to 14 degrees of Cancer, which is aligned with the star Sirius, the goddess Isis, And Sirius is one of the stars closest to the Earth. They say only 8 light years away, whatever that means. And it is the brightest star we see. It's like this radiant, it can change colors, but mainly it's a blue-white star. And there's so much lore and history and extraterrestrial, kind of star energy connected to this, but it also is Isis, she is a goddess of death and rebirth as well. And so I think that is very profound, that high priestess star, Mars is activating that. And it's also square Chiron in Aries, ruled by Mars. So that square is very, very potent in healing. And it's, again, helping us like not come back with our first subjective trigger, but to be in that space where we're at some point, like being able to watch that and respond in a fresh way, without old stuff, without being bound or attached to memory or what's gone before. There's, of all things, with all this Aries, Chiron, the be here now factor is like, stay with it, stay on it. And so I think that is very strong. And then comments on that?
Yeah, just quickly, I think what you're saying is really important. And again, this moment that we're in of instant manifestation, if we're getting triggered by emotional reactions, the smart move, in my opinion, is to immediately take a deep breath, take a step back even, and go to your higher mind and say, self-inquiry time, what's going on for me right now? Not who's causing this for me, but what's going on for me right now, and transform it instantly.
Right now.
Because otherwise you're going to use that energy in maybe a judgmental and unhelpful way, maybe even a projection that you're going to give to somebody else, which is not fair on somebody else. But don't receive those energies from other people in the same way, because that's not helpful. Just see what is going on for yourself in that moment. Wow, why did I just get triggered by that? Oh, it's because of this, this, and this. Real for me? No, it's not. That's just part of the experience of being the avatar that was David in this life, the avatar that was Kelly. And if we start to see ourselves more from that non-dual perspective, everything becomes a lot easier and a lot less personal. I know it's easy to say and not so easy to do, but I think that's the test. That we're in right now is like, how non-dual can you be about yourself? Never mind anything else, right?
Yeah, those triggers, Mars can like react, but it also is defensive often in Cancer, and that can be in a good way too. It's like coming home to yourself and protecting your space, protecting home and family. It's coming back home. And that's where we need to be doing what we're doing, which can include cooking and feeding and nurturing and just kind of,
Right. You know what? I've done more cooking this week than I have done in a very, very long time, taking more time to cook nice food. And it feels great. It's something that I love doing. But for whatever reason, with the last year and all of the energies, it's been difficult to settle into doing things for me personally that have felt good. Whereas now I feel a shifting. It's like, and it's because of creating space and also the use of technology. If we can unhinge or unhitch ourselves from using it too much, because it's an addictive process and there's a lot of energy with the tech. And of course, Elon Musk has been pointing to that very clearly recently with the moratorium on AI development, which I think is very significant, very important, as we've had this brief window into
Pluto and Aquarius thing, isn't it?
Right. I think that what he's pointed towards in this window is like, we need to be aware of what's coming towards us. And we need to take steps now to understand how this can be used beneficially, but also how maybe there could be something here that's not properly being managed. And of course, that's very Pluto and Aquarius. And but the point being is, how do we create space away from the devices, space away from the mobile phone, space to cook, space to garden, space to read, space to dream. I think this is a big deal.
And more space in our bodies. Let's look at the Uranus Mercury conjunction here, remembering that Mercury is about to go retrograde, conjunct Uranus. There's going to be a very dicey, very surprising, all kinds of stuff in an extended Uranus news cycle coming up, most of this month. But this is also the embodiment sign, Taurus. So the eating, coming back to our bodies, coming back home to ourselves and not being out here in our heads somewhere, coming back to the heart and home and the heart and the hearth. And so, which doesn't sound very Uranus, but it is this is a very important part here. And it's almost like thinking with that gut intelligence of the body, and recognizing also when we're getting like a little ungrounded or more so. I had trouble with that this past week myself, for sure. So yeah,
It's
this
difficult with these energies to ground, and this is where, I love that the plants comes in. I know you've been working with your plants, and certainly I have too, and going into the garden. Maybe this is why we've got this hybrid eclipse of Aries and Taurus. It's like there's a lot going on for the individual on all levels, for all of us, for sure. And how do we deal with that so that we don't get too cooked or ungrounded or can't sleep? We go to Taurus, we go back to the earth, and we ground ourselves, we root. And I think that that's always, when you're having a bad moment or feeling anything, go to a tree, sit under a tree. And it's amazing how different you can feel within 20-30 minutes, right?
I needed extra rest, especially I think it was midweek. I was like, whoa, had a lot of ruffled feathers, and I have to breathe really deeply when I'm there. And sometimes when I'm not sleeping at night, that's what I do too. I'm breathing very deeply, and I'm very much feeling it in that gut womb area, that whole like other creative space where Haumea lives. So that's been and we'll look, when we look at the full moon, we'll get into that inner space as well. So I don't know. Of course we can't ignore, there's Venus in Gemini, and she is such a delight. She's really helping a lot here in this eclipse. She's working really nicely with the Aries and Mars and Taurus too. That can really help. And that's Gemini is such an open-minded sign. And talking about duality, where there can be a kind of argument going on, Venus has that harmonic that can rise above that. So let's listen to that and use it, because there's Saturn in Pisces that is ever more sensitive, and again needing to kind of bring the field in and embody it and encompass it. And then, we can go through that comfortably.
Exactly. And the universe never gives us more than we can handle, in the same way that my medicine plants never give me or any of my clients more than they can handle, because that's not the point. We're not meant to be getting completely cooked and bent out of shape. We're meant to be learning and evolving. It's like you said about the squares. We often have this perception, oh, the squares are really bad, but the squares are the evolutionary points.
Yeah.
Because if we work Scorpio style, tantric style, to transform the energies and how they're working for us, we can make huge leaps very, very quickly through some of these more challenging, more supposedly challenging aspects. And I think that, what you're pointing towards with Venus is, again, that there's always like this incredible opportunity for evolution and change. But hey, it's going to be okay. We're not going to make it so bad and so terrifying that you're not going to want to do it. We're going to hold your hand through the process. Venus is always there. And that, that again, the choice points, Gemini, is it this truth? Is it that truth? It's up to you, really. It's a personal thing. You choose which things you believe and don't believe.
And does it matter?
Does it matter even, right? Actually, ultimately, does it matter even?
Yeah, if you come back to the moment, things like that don't matter. Like, why are we even talking about that? kind of
Right,
thing.
exactly. So I feel like that's the antidote to maybe the triggery energy of Mars in Cancer. It's like, oh, do I need to get activated by that? It's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm going to take a back seat here. We just have to use that pause moment to breathe again, right? Like you were saying, and center ourselves. And as we've talked about, not to be self-centered in a selfish way, but to be centered in self. What's
the higher
going
self
on for me right now? How do I need to look after?
Yeah. Okay. So we asked Venus to take us to the full moon because she has a stronger role there.
All right, let's do it.
So there's the full moon. And the full moon, yeah. So there's full moon in Scorpio at 14:15, basically 15. And here's the sun at the end of the 14, so 15 as well. 15 is a critical degree in fixed signs. It means they're halfway through that sign and they are powerful. They are like cutting it, like right there, So that is that's sort of Scorpio laser beam. More of that letting go energy and that empowerment behind the letting go. And then we have, there's Mercury, still retrograde. It's turning forward on just before the next, no, wait, I got that wrong. The 15th of May, it's going forward. So there it is, still with the sun And with Uranus there, that is such volatility. I mean, that is earth energy talking. There's the Mercury communicating, not with words, but in here we go. Here's what's happening. It's like working with a piece of clay. You think you're going to make this, and then all of a sudden the clay pushes back. It's like, no, I want to be that.
That would be a weird experience if you're sculpting something with clay and suddenly in your hands it shapes into something else. But I think that's also part of the process of letting go of our minds, of not being necessarily bound into restrictive ways of looking at things, but allowing the moment to unfold like clay could in our hands and create something that's like, oh, that's not what I was thinking, but wow, that's amazing. Where did that come from? Did that come from some other part of myself that was channeled? And I feel increasingly from this full moon onwards, that the potentiality for humans to access different parts of themselves and understand that we are truly multidimensional beings having a momentary experience, but moment by moment, here in the third dimension in the 3D reality is a new way of looking at things. And of course, the energy of Scorpio is so much about breaking down self. This is real fungi territory for anyone who works with that medicine, entering into the void space.
And, that is also the embodiment, that is like coming fully into our bodies, but also receiving the earth energy coming up from below. Right. And we need that. We can't be steady on the earth and even grow healthfully if we aren't, feeling even the change in the earth energy and kind of dancing with it. So, this is going to continue to kind of blow our minds a little bit. I thank goodness that Mercury is retrograde. It's like we can okay, let me come back here. Okay, there's a piece I got to bring back. It's like coming back into your body extra. It's giving you extra time to do that. And I also think after that extended, Mercury in Gemini, that was so hard on the nervous system, this gives some time. Well, not that Uranus is going to help the nervous system too much, but the deeper we embody and connect to the earth and nature in a way that supports us, which is why we need the plants.
Right. Yeah. I know this is a show that talks about plants and astrology, but we are both big plant people. And for sure that without the plants, I feel that this last year would have been very, very difficult for me personally. And that's what we've been sharing through the immersions that we've been working on over at our QPH website. But so we entered into this full moon as a segue with the Venus energy. So let's
there she is. Last night I was watching Venus. I have a really good view of the skies. You can kind of get the idea. And it was Venus so bright, and everything goes down behind one of those hills. So just before Venus went down below the hill, there were the Pleiades. And there was Venus above the Pleiades, and a little bit up to the southwest or east. Anyway, a little bit up there was Aldebaran, the eye of the bull, one of the royal stars in the sky, very powerful. And also, I didn't get to review it, but I believe that star has a very transformational capacity. It's a very profound healing energy, but I do think it takes us a bit through the darkness. And, it's part of the bull's head, that eye of the bull, so there it is. So there's Venus saying, okay, pay profound attention, listen in, be open-minded, what is coming up for you. And Venus, just the night before this full moon, is going to be exactly squaring Neptune. So that square is very, very strong. Neptune and Venus, whenever I see that combination, the divine feminine. And this is a beautiful dream, let's see, space of light and heart that can be can really talk to us. This is where you want, to really be enjoying your environment where you are, listen to music, write poetry. Messages can come through, very profound messages. I've been thinking about how deep into the sea Neptune goes. Neptune is a very deep planet. So
also maybe just what's coming to me with Venus in Gemini and Neptune in Pisces, what we've also got two different ways of looking at the realities.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
for me, Neptune in Pisces can also represent the murky depths of illusion. You can't really see exactly. I feel like, you know, the last 8 months has been very much about Neptune in Pisces at the collective level. What's being hidden from us? What can't we see? What is the truth of what we're seeing on the news or our Telegram groups, whatever we're watching? What is the truth? In the end, maybe it's all an illusion, but I feel like Venus is in Gemini.
That's beautiful, because
more from our heart.
The truth is going to come through, you know, the divining of the heart.
Yeah.
And being in the moment for that also. And again, not going into an argumentative, but just being there to ask questions like, what is going on here? What am I really feeling? What feels true for me? What feels resonant for me? I don't like that static over there. Let's get back to the really harmonic vibe. And this is like fine tuning our instrument kind of thing.
Yes, it is.
And the earth is helping with that. It took me a while to discover this, another grand cross here, but here is Ceres, who's Gaia. She's the earth mother in Virgo. One of, I think, her best signs, because that's so resonant with her meaning. Right. So this is, again, tuning into nature, and she's fine tuning the nuances of nature. And this could be, you know, helping our bodies for sure. Again, it's suggesting, you know, using nature's substances for healing and dreaming and keeping the highest spiritual tone possible.
So for me, Sarah's in this position. Yeah, I think Sarah's in Virgo is a beautiful position. It's very much about the earth. It's about healing. It's about the medicine plants. And so on the opposite side of this, sometimes murky Neptune and Pisces piece with this squaring of the energy of Venus in Gemini, we're being reminded that there's always a way to heal and see through everything by the use of the plants. Particularly in this case, I feel we're being pointed towards the heart plants, which is interesting because 4 days before this, we have the Beeltena or May Day, which in the northern plant traditions or Celtic and Viking traditions is very much connected to the fairy queen, who is represented in the tree world by the hawthorn tree.
This is definitely fairy world. You know, right. I'm doing a hawthorn immersion the first weekend in June with Pam Montgomery.
My old teacher. Wonderful. That's
yes, beautiful. I was so excited to see that. I got the last spot.
Yeah. And you know what's super interesting, just as a kind of a delta or link on that, is the very first retreat that I ever participated in as a plant retreat and organized with Pam was hawthorn many moons ago. So that's a wonderful little link. But I think that what's interesting there is that this cross is now pointing towards, at the beginning of May, stay in your heart, work with the medicines of Mother Earth, keep in your heart. There are many heart medicines. Cacao, chocolate is another great one. Mezcalito, an amazing little tipple here from Mexico, very hard, comes from the heart of the maguey plant. Even Huachuma San Pedro that I talk about with my brother down in Peru, Sergei Baranov, that's another heart medicine. You know, find the heart medicines that work for you and stay in that heart space, because they will help break through the possibly conflictory delusions and pictures that we're receiving from the outside world, all of which need to be dissolved. The heart is the dissolution method, I feel, for breaking down illusions and delusions, both within ourselves and at the collective level. And of course, you know, the fairy world is also perhaps Lemuria. It's there, but it's also the world of the middle world nature spirits. You know, that's where we can meet the little folk of the forest, or you know, the wee people, or rather than the
little lights dancing around. You know,
right? You know, these are the nature spirits, the wee people.
Good information coming from them, and you might want to write it down somehow. You know, this could be definitely, you know, good messages. But again, it's a beautiful time for artists and writers and musicians, and let it flow and engage it. And so, and the earth, you know, maybe that's working with clay or other natural substances even. Anyway, so whatever your body needs to fine tune that as well, you know, and that could be like confronting some addictions or comfort substances that aren't really good for you.
Healing medications that maybe have been
bad long-term effects. Yeah. Yeah.
My allies always tell me from the plant kingdom that there is nothing that can't be healed as long as it hasn't been removed. Which I always think is an interesting.
That's a good message.
And I live by that. So the opposite side of the final piece then we have here on this grand cross that you identified as Vada.
Varda, one of my favorites.
So talk us through, Kelly, to complete
Yes.
the picture that we've got unfolded.
Well, she's at 27,
Mhm.
which is, she's circling the galactic center, the heart of the Milky Way.
Hey. Yeah.
So here she is. We're right. This love, this vibrational energy of this grand cross, it's like right from the heart of the galaxy, right into the earth energy. This is like, we could really, this is enough for wonderment, right? It's like hard to think about it rationally. It's so Varda is the bringer of light. She was in Tolkien's creation story from prehistory of Middle Earth, like way back at the beginning. And she was one of the highest of the 14 archangels who came down to create the vision of the creator on earth. And she would bring the light. And then when the fallen angel would destroy that world, then a new era would be born, and she would create a different light. And then that was destroyed, and yet another form of light when she put the stars in the sky and placed the sun and the moon in their orbits in the sky. So she is right here saying, I've got a new light for you. You might turn it on inside, you know. It's she's called the Star Lady. She's called the goddess of the elves. She is the light bringer. She's one of the specific light bringers, although I think, you know, these Kuiper Belt objects are basically all light bringers.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something else to talk about in a minute. But I just want to pick up on what you just said there. So I've got this clear, and because it seems that this is very, very significant. So we've got Vada, this bringer of light from the Silmarillion, the ancient mythologies of Tolkien and Middle Earth, which of course I feel are very much a parallel to this world, depending on how we interpret. I do believe that Tolkien was an avatar channeling a lot of interesting information that he put into a story that made sense, very much in the Northern traditions. But so the 27 degrees is the alignment with the galactic center, or 26?
It's around 26, but I mean, she's at, I think she's pretty early 27. So, and she's going to be going backwards. Yeah.
Right. So we've got this possibility, again, another portal space through which light, a new type of light, a bringer of new light, Vada, can come from the galactic center into this mix that we have on the full moon, which is full moon illumination of whatever prayers we put into the new moon eclipse in a couple of days' time in the Aries Taurus cusp. And so I feel like what we're being shown here is a way to dissolve the illusions, the old addictions of the past, the old habits of the past, by reverting back through our choices, but reverting back to Mother Earth and the medicines and the plants, and understanding there is always healing available for us. We don't have to go to anybody else. All we have to do is tune in ourselves to what is growing around us, and we will see the plants that we need right now to release what no longer serves us are already in our vicinity. Again, dandelion being super present. What's going on around me? Oh, that's a new plant. When did that suddenly pop up? Maybe I should check out what that is. Oh my gosh, I feel like this might be useful for me. That's also part of the new light, the new way of being sovereign and self-empowered is I can do this myself with a bit of help from the plants, but the plants are showing us how to do it for ourselves. And I think that this is super, super lovely energy. I think this is a wonderful grand cross you picked out here, actually, Kelly. There's a lot in this. And I feel this is definitely worth meditating on longer. And I see it as a way to empower ourselves, but also by breaking down the illusions of the past that have been obscured in the murky waters of Neptune and Pisces, with all of the substances, the pharmaceuticals, etc., that come with that transit and that sign. And again, we're being offered a different way of living, a different way of being. I think, isn't that wonderful?
This is, you know, this is womb area. This is like not just the Haumea womb area, but the whole gut intelligence area. You know, we've got the gut, the heart, and the head, higher mind to be our intelligence agencies. But Virgo is the gut. Virgo is that, you know, that earthy connection to even the mycelium world, and putting our feet on it, feeling that vibration so strong. Pisces rules the feet. There's Neptune. We can really pull up a lot of that very supportive earth energy with this. And it's just a divine like light. And you know, Sagittarius is the storytelling sign. And here is a scientific discovery named for a story, a fictional story character. There's supposed to be indigenous creator gods out there, aren't they? Like, how did that happen? And there's something about, like you were saying, Tolkien channeling something true about our history. And here something is opening up to us if we are willing to listen and open to that level, that light level. And that can be our story. It's a never-ending story. It's and it doesn't come around like this, very often after the 2012, when we started aligning with the galactic center in a fuller way as well. So like you said, this is so worth thinking about and meditating on and tuning into, way beyond the technology. I mean, we've certainly got a lot of that coming in, but if we want to find that safe home space, let's go there. And Mars in Cancer is now with Black Moon Lilith. So again, we've got to be very careful about overly subjective reactions or triggers or attachments or anything holding us back. Let's take that laser beam, Scorpio moon, and just let it go.
Right. And what better sign to be in for this full moon with all of these energies of change, of timeline, time zones, all kind of breaking down. Then Scorpio, the ultimate sign of death and rebirth, the tantric master, Shiva in many ways, transforming poisons. The poisons of ourselves, the poisons of the old paradigms into the new earth, which we cannot bring forth. We do not want to poison the new earth with the poison substances of the old. And, I feel that for those who create space for themselves, as we both have been doing over the last week or so as best we can, the opportunity to be in that meditative space, in the womb space. I do see that between the new moon and the full moon, we are entering the void, and the void is the womb, but the womb needs to be clean, as we've talked about on so many other podcasts, and the immersions that, the womb cleaning team of Ladies Mantle, the alchemist plant that, is able to alchemize our ideas, the fireweed trauma removal plant can cleanse the womb space, both masculine and feminine. And then mugwort, the midwife, the birthing plants. These three plants in combination can actually help us to birth our new earth. But we have to make sure that we're following the processes, because if the womb space is not clean, as we've learned from the last 200 years from the Industrial Revolution, many of us were born through polluted womb spaces, not in any detriment to our mothers or grandmothers or great-grandmothers. It was just part of the process. But as a consequence, we've been having to deal with the toxicities of heavy metals.
Oh, beautiful. This is really about like bringing light into to any of the toxicity in the womb. And the womb is our own personal galactic center, kind of thing. There's a kind of connection, and Lilith is part of that connection. So, there's Cancer. It is a birthing sign, so it can really participate in a very profound way. But we can't take things personally. We've got to be more objective, more, non-judgmental. We've got to work with that Varuna energy as well, which is step back and see the larger picture. And because that's really big. We're something bigger. So we're so much bigger or more expansive, and we're becoming that more and more here. So, don't get discouraged. Don't let it, just love the vibrancy. And so you said Ladies Mantle, Mugwort, and what was the third one?
Fireweed. So I'll just quickly share again the process of those three plants. So the first one really is fireweed, which is a trauma imprint removal plant, which can actually cleanse out any imprints. Of course, there is also a physical process here of detoxing heavy metals, of graphene, many things. That's a much bigger conversation, all of which has been discussed on various other podcasts and immersions that I've done with you and other people. But so if the womb can be cleansed physically, it also needs to be cleansed energetically. So that's the first process. Then we call to the alchemist, Ladies Mantle, whose name is Alchemilla, and she is the ultimate alchemizing plant. So what she is doing in the womb space is alchemizing our higher mind ideas that we're pulling from creative source, from the galactic center into our own void space of creation. This is our own portal wormhole here through which we can pull and manifest. So she is alchemizing that higher mind into the 3D space That's when we need to birth, and we need the midwifing plant, the wonderful protective motherly mugwort who's able to bring forth with the fire energy, with the chi energy, which is used in moxibustion, into 3D. It's a beautiful process, can be worked very, very simply, but we need to make sure that the womb space is clean so that our ideas do not become polluted or contaminated or distorted. Very, 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 did I say very, very important?
Now that is a pithy summary of this whole full moon here.
Right.
Yeah.
There we go. So as we come, is there anything else you want to pick out from this chart, Kelly, as we enter into the final moments?
Just remembering that right after this full moon,
what do we have just going
on the same day that Jupiter goes into Taurus?
Say that again, sir. I'm just looking in my diary. Jupiter enters Taurus.
Yeah, Jupiter's going into Taurus the same day as Mercury turns forward on the 15th. And so we've got more Taurus coming in.
Right.
And this is quite rich and full. So, and it's going to be squaring Pluto. That's big. Pluto amplifies. So although by then, no, not by then, Pluto's still going to be in Aquarius there. There's going to be a whopper of a square there.
I think whopper is the word. So I just want to also draw attention to a couple of other things. Let's take the screen down just to wrap up. There's a couple of other points I want to take, and then we'll conclude for this very, very interesting and profound show, but also moment in time. And, you know, the day of the 22nd of April is designated as Earth Day. Okay. It's also designated as the day of Yggdrasil, the world tree, which of course is the yew tree in the way that we've been working with it, but could also be many other world trees. And so what I'm understanding is that we have this opportunity, for those people who watch this video before the eclipse takes place, in these last few days before the eclipse, I would really encourage all of our listeners to be very much in their own void space and be very clear about what their intentions for the new moon are, because it's going to manifest super quick, whatever it is. So be very, very clear. But what I love is that the day after the eclipse, we've got this grounding energy that is Earth Day. It's also about the yew, which is also about the toroidal field of the earth, which, if we bring it back to ourselves, is really about us. We are the yew tree. We are Yggdrasil. So this is how we can connect all of these energies to hold us through this portal space, because that's really how I see it, between the two eclipses, between this very, very weird hybrid. And I think that's another word that's worth looking into too. What do we understand from that eclipse in Aries Taurus? But then the full illumination of the process 2 weeks later in Scorpio, which I think is also the perfect sign right now, not because I'm Scorpio, but because I understand the energies of death and rebirth and transformation. And this is an opportunity for humanity to make the jump very, very profoundly. But it's a collective effort, done through individual attention, care, responsibility, and empowerment, and most of all, sovereignty. And so I feel that we've been given this wonderful opportunity to do all of that work and make those prayers super clear. So do you have anything you wish to say in response to that?
Well, that's it. You know, that full moon with the on Uranus, moon opposite Uranus, sun on it, Mercury close by. That is such a change energy. And again, it's something we can't, we can, Neptune's about imagination. Sagittarius is about imagination. Taurus is about immediate experience and your body's tree energy, right? It's like the Taurus deeply roots, and I call it the tree hugger sign. And there we are. It is like your strength. You want your physical strength here, and whatever is getting in the way of that. And again, that goes back to addictions. That goes back to needing more, earth energy, more mycelium world, more medicinal herbs, strengthening herbs, and that's basically what this moon cycle is about, to get us across the line into the next level of new earth that we are living, whether we know it or not. And some people, like, you can tell they're part of it, but they don't know they're part of it. And then there are those that know we're helping to create it,
Mhm.
And so it's you know, that's so beautiful to see that, you know, that people are experiencing it, whether or not they know it. It's just like, I think, a special gift to like know it, although, you know, that gives us more responsibility in some way too.
That's very true. And, you know, as a final footnote to all of this, I just want to introduce one small theme because I can see the connection now. We're going to be offering a special prize for the U immersion on the day of Yggdrasil, the Earth Day, for those people that want to connect during this 2-week window. Actually, it's a really great treat to work with between these two moons, the new moon and the full moon. So that's something to click over to Quantum Plant Healing about. But this is just my little way of introducing an asteroid, which we didn't get to talk about today, which we are going to do a special show on, which is Hidalgo. Now, without giving too much away, Hidalgo was a warrior priest who was the father or grandfather even of Mexican independence. And he is also going through, in his chart right now, which we're going to look at, I think, in the future, a North Node reversal return. So I feel very connected to this man, partly because my entry into Mexico was in the state of Hidalgo, but also he is also on a 222 Delta right now under the banner of Our Lady of Guadalupe. So there's a lot in that, but most of all, his name was Miguel Hidalgo, and he was working very much with the energy of Archangel Michael, or St. Michael, Archangel Michael. So all of which is very connected to the U tree. So this moment that we are in is very much under the guidance and protection of Archangel Michael or Michael. And, you know, the U tree and the plant Angelica, which I know that you've been working with a lot, are a way to connect us into that frequency. The more feminine aspect is the Angelica, and the U tree is the more masculine aspect of Archangel Michael. But I want to share something he showed me in the journey many, many years ago. As long as you stand in my light, brother, you have nothing to fear. Very, very profound experience that pretty much changed my life, actually, some years ago. And so I just want to share that. We hopefully will do a special piece on Hidalgo's energy, currently at 25 degrees of Scorpio, but it's really about the channeling of the warrior angelic energy in this time to dissolve all of the darkness with the sword of light that Miguel carries. So I just wanted to add that in as a little kind of taster of something that I hope we're going to talk about very, very soon, but not on today's show.
I got excited about this because I know that the Virgin of Guadalupe is connected to Lilith energy as well. So we're going to have some of that in there too. I'm really excited about this, and I felt like it was a curveball thrown at me, but it's like, yeah, I'm catching it. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, you know, and I had just as you know, off kind of camera, we were talking about this beforehand, and I got very excited about Hidalgo recently for lots of reasons. And you know, I think the most important one is the sense of sovereignty and independence that he fought for, which was then finished really by Morelos. And we're now in a reshaping of the world, and independence and sovereignty is a big part, which is why I feel the man Hidalgo, the avatar Hidalgo, has come very clearly to me at the moment, because he is showing us that this energy of Michael is available to all of us, and there is nothing to fear as long as you stand in those archangelic principles and behave and be in that light and that energy. So super exciting. Apologies for the curveball earlier in the week, but hopefully we'll get to talk about this very interesting asteroid very, very soon. And hopefully this is going to be the beginning, I feel, Kelly, of a series of more deep dives actually into different KBOs and asteroids that maybe don't always get so much attention, but now perhaps are coming to a place of prominence for a reason. So as we wrap up today, please do share with our audience where they can learn more about your newsletters and your books, as always.
Basically on my website, which is w.helia, HELIASTAR.com. That's basically the way to see some of my writings. Join my newsletter if you like, and then be in touch.
Good. And I know that people can also book readings with you if you're in the space for receiving those at the moment. Also a place to buy Kelly's wonderful books on Black Moon Lilith, and of course there's always a newsletter that very much summarizes a lot of what we've been talking about today. And on my side, you know, yeah, exactly. It's, in fact, I saw the press copy of it earlier, and it fits very well, of course. And it's you know what, it's good to have these newsletters as a written guide. I find to make notes on, particularly when we're doing these shows, you know. And then also from our side, yes, over at Quantum Plant Healing, we will be doing a special piece for the Earth Day with the U immersion, and also right now we have some nice offers running on a few of the other immersions too, to help people through this process of cleansing, detoxifying, and making sure that we're in good shape to receive the impulses, not necessarily from the universe, but maybe just from our higher self, about what we want for ourselves and how we see that fitting into the collective. So as always, Kelly, an absolute delight. I've really enjoyed doing this one with you today. As always, a huge amount of downloads, which I have to go away and process now in my little business. And I look forward to connecting again very, very soon. And we'll see everybody on the other side of this hybrid eclipse.
Oh my.
Remember, everyone,
world.
We all signed up for this. Whatever we're about to experience, we all signed up for it. We all agreed to do it. So you know what? Enjoy it. And whatever is unfolding in the world around this, it's all part of a process that is designed to shift us to a better space. And that is one of my anchor points, and I know it's one of Kelly's too, that gets us through the more challenging or dicey moments, as you referred to earlier, Kelly, because they're just experiences in the end for our own benefit.
Trust yourself.
Yes. Aho to that. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And we'll see you all again very, very soon for another episode of Moons of Mythos, maybe even a special with Vidal. We'll have to see. Ciao for now.